everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Major, and I am very excited today to bring to you Daniela Sokolowski. I hope I did not butcher her name, but she has a company called DiCuore Diamonds, and she is going to talk to us about how, which is something I totally agree with, luxury and how all of this is going to head towards personalization in every aspect. So please welcome to the show, Daniela. Daniela, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Marley. Hello.
So give us a backstory, because you and I were going back and forth about kind of how what you wear really like has a deeper meaning, what it says. And then we were talking about the power of personalization. And to me, that's the ultimate luxury, right? Because, there's one thing about you can go to the department store and you can buy jewelry, and then you go to like the high-end jewelry store and buy jewelry. But then when you get something custom designed that you really want, with the right stone and the weight and the type of gold and the color of gold and all those things, that really is at a different level. So give us a little bit about your background and tell us about you.
Well, I moved from Romania 15 years ago, almost 16 now. And my first real job here was working for a diamond wholesaler. And this is when I discovered that I really like diamonds, and that I kind of organically started to learn about them. But not only that, I started to love, making jewelry. And this was, when I first had because this is actually my second time around doing jewelry. But my first initiative was to sell online, which turned out not to be such a great idea, because I couldn't do this personalization that I was always, drawn to. So, inevitably getting a different job, I started to make jewelry, and I started to work for a company that was doing bespoke jewelry. At the time, I didn't really know what was bespoke jewelry, but then I realized that it was exactly right up my alley, because it was the power of customization that I was looking for. And I don't know if it is necessarily the ultimate luxury. I believe that I can do, customized pieces for pretty much any budget. But in reality, if somebody wants to do a custom piece, they usually think that it's going to be like more expensive than something that you would buy from a mall. And sometimes it is that is the case, but sometimes it isn't, because, for instance, people like me, I kind of do everything. I source the materials, I design, and I use a local team to make the jewelry. But I do cut the middleman, so there's no, I don't import this jewelry or things like that. I just sit with customers and I understand what they want, which is a process that they really love, and then we make the jewelry together.
So how does that work? I mean, if somebody comes to you, typically, well, at least my experience has been with the luxury market or the high-end market, when somebody comes to you with something that they want very personalized, and then they have seen it on Pinterest, like in my case with events or something, or on Instagram. And sometimes what they want and their budget doesn't always match. How do you handle that? And when you say that, it sounds like you can, it doesn't have to be off the chain expensive, but like, what's the minimum? Where do you start? Who's your target audience?
A minimum, I would think there is a minimum, but it all depends also on the materials, because we have to be realistic. If you want a natural diamond, obviously the minimum is somewhere around $5,000 for smaller size stone. But if you want something that is lab grown, the minimum could even be $2,000, because the stones are obviously significantly cheaper. So I have to explain that to customer. First of all, one of my first questions, to be really honest, is like, are you looking to purchase a lab-grown diamond, or are you looking to purchase a natural diamond? And then I go down, deeper, and I ask them why. Because it's very important to some of my customers. They believe in in sustainability, and they believe in going the lab-grown, route. So then the budget is easier to work with at that point. Sometimes you also have to be honest. I'm always honest and transparent. So if it doesn't fit their budget, I will just tell them what their budget really gives them. And then we work our way up. Many times they actually increase the budget, Or if they initially said, okay, maybe I want a natural diamond, and then we discuss and we talk about the pros and cons, then they say, okay, you know what? I want a bigger stone. So let's go the lab grown route. So
What direction are you seeing people go in these days? Are they saying, "Hey, listen, I want the bigger stone, and so let's go lab grown," or what's the trend lately?
you would think that the trend is like bigger stones, like all across the board. No,
Mhm.
it's very generational. I'm going to say that
Mm,
my generation, I'm Generation X, they lean towards natural diamonds more
mhm.
than lab grown diamonds. But the
Okay.
Gen Zs and even millennials, they're more likely to go for the lab grown diamonds. Again, for the reasons I stated, like the sustainability, non
Right.
conflict. Although I have mixed feelings about this because there's a lot of, energy that is involved and electricity that are involved in growing the lab grown diamonds, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, so I would say that it's generational. A lot of people who are older are looking for the rarity of the stone,
Mhm.
the story, the mining. Younger generation doesn't care about that. They care about like, being more affordable, bigger stones, pretty, they look the same. So they do not see any difference between the two.
Interesting. Okay, so is a younger generation, so they're not asking you questions like, how was this sourced? Or I mean, because there've been so many things about blood diamonds and, De Beers controlling the market and all that kind of stuff. So you're saying the younger generation is not as into that as the older one,
No,
or the opposite?
younger generation goes for affordability, in my opinion, and bigger
Uh-huh.
stones in general.
Got it.
Because for them is like if it looks the same and it has the
Yeah.
same chemical composition, because they do.
Right.
The other part of the story is not that important, and I do believe that there is some conflict behind diamonds, which I disagree. I used to work for the beer, so not because of that, but I know that's not the case anymore for many many years. But
Okay.
for the younger generation, I think the size and the fact that they are a fraction of the price is it's very very important because they are looking more forward to like buying a house and
Right.
using the money towards something more substantial, so to speak.
So then, okay, so let's talk about De Beers a little bit. So when people hear all this stuff about, blood diamonds and, these people are, not getting paid a fair wage, and all this controversy of the past, like what has your experience been?
Well, my experience with I don't really get customers, to be really honest, asking me about this.
Hmm.
Some people have their ideas already set and they're like, okay, I'm just not gonna go for natural. And
Hmm.
I don't try to like change their mind. I do
Right.
explain the pros and cons because, for instance, the biggest pro for natural is that it still holds value over time. The lab
Right.
grown doesn't. If you want to go and resell your, lab grown engagement ring, you're not going to get anything for it, and that's reality. But if
And
it's a
why is
natural,
that? Why do you think that is, that there's such a disparity between holding the value?
because the natural diamond is rare and the lab
Yeah.
grown diamond is not rare. It's you can
Right.
make them in a few weeks, literally.
Right.
The biggest difference is this.
Hmm.
You can source a 4 carat lab grown diamond easily, even a
Right.
D flawless, which
Right.
is almost impossible. Not that it's impossible, but it would
Right.
be extremely expensive to source in a natural stone. So
Right.
this is why, like, I at the point, like, I don't try to explain to people the conflict part because I know we use the Kimberly process and we know that there is no more conflict in that, but it all boils down to the amount that it costs. Like,
Right.
obviously, they're not going to spend $300,000. They're going to want to
Right.
spend a few $1,000s.
And what is the Kimberly process? Can you
Well,
elaborate
Kimberly
on that?
process is a process that has to do with the way the natural diamonds are sourced and mined. It's a little more complicated. I wouldn't want to get into it, but basically, a part of it means that you are not sourcing, conflict blood diamonds. I don't
Got
even use the term anymore, to be really honest, because
Right.
it just doesn't exist.
Right. Right. Okay. And so what's the price difference between naturally sourced diamonds and lab grown?
Well, it depends. It depends on the weight, first of all, but
Hmm.
it's significantly lower. So let's say that a 3 carat, ring would cost you somewhere, 3 carat lab grown would
Right.
cost you somewhere around $7,000, depending where you're getting from, depending where the actual ring is made. Seven could be
Right.
8, it could be 6. I don't know. It all
Right.
depends, and it depends also on the quality of the diamond. But
Right.
that could cost you up to even 150,000 in
Yeah.
natural if you
Right.
go very, very, very high, quality.
Right.
It all
Right.
depends. Like in natural, there's a lot of aspects that are affecting the price. Like
Mhm.
even the smallest difference in like the cut, if it's very good, if it's excellent, that changes the price dramatically.
Sure.
Well, I call them the perfect babies. Lab grown are pretty much all excellent cuts and good colors and clarities because you're making it in a lab. So you
Right.
obviously your interest is to make them, you know, higher
Right.
quality than lower quality, right?
Now, how can people tell the difference?
You
Because what,
can't. You can't.
but then,
That's the wild thing. You can't. You
okay,
cannot.
but then here's the question though. Then why wouldn't lab grown hold their value? Like if nobody can tell the difference,
Because
then
rarity is something we really value in this trade. No, you
right.
can tell the difference if you put them in a lab. There's also some machinery that exists that even some retailers possess where you can actually test them. So they have, but it's just something that it's not visually different. Like
Mhm.
for your naked eye, they will look the same. But under certain lighting, there's different hues, there's different
Got it.
reflections. It's hard because I'm not the chief of GIA to explain
Yeah.
exactly the process,
Right.
but the lighting, there's certain lighting that actually reveals whether it's a natural or a lab grown diamond. But you're not walking around with that machine, obviously.
Right. 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 Right.
Walk in any kind of lighting on it, on the face of Earth, you wouldn't know the difference.
Doing what you do you have to have like your gemology certificates or that kind of background, or is it more like a
Not
feel for design?
necessarily. It does help. I did
Mhm.
take some, basic classes, but inevitably, I've been doing this a long time. I learned
Right.
about diamonds just hands on, with loop
Right.
in my hand, with the microscope, with the
Right.
gauge. So obviously, and of course, I know how to read the certificates. Like, this is something very, very important. All of these are certified, whether they're lab grown or natural diamonds, they are certified. And
Got it.
so there are what is called inscription. Okay. So the
Okay.
inscription on the lab are different. The inscriptions of the lab are different than the natural, like the format itself. So
Oh,
it's a
okay.
way for us to differentiate them. Basically, it's
Got
on
it.
the girdle of the stone. They,
And so do you deal primarily in diamonds, or are you seeing like a trend toward colored stones?
I deal more in diamonds because that's what people request, but I also
Mhm.
sell, green emeralds and sapphires and emeralds. I do that more for like birthstone. I get
Right.
customers that want to have their kids' birthstone on their ring, and we do some fun things with mix and match the whole family, and you can make something very cool. But
Mhm.
to be really honest, people kind of gravitated around diamonds. And it's been always like that, I would say, at least in the past 15 years that I've been doing it.
And do you think that's like a marketing thing where people have the perception that diamonds are they're so rare and so therefore people want that kind of as a status symbol?
That's part of it. And also, let's not forget, it is the hardest material on the surface of Earth.
Got it.
So
Right.
it does matter because you're using, look, I'm wearing this ring. If I'm using it every day, it's an eternity band and I
Ah, right.
bang it. And if it was an emerald ring, it might chip. It chips much,
Right.
much easier because they're not as hard. So
Right.
that's part of it. Also, I think the brilliance, I mean, as a person who works with all of these, I
Right.
believe there is special brilliance in diamond. That is not to say that people do not like the color stones. They
Yeah.
do, but
Yeah.
many times you will see that they are also in combination with diamonds. Like the center stone is, say, Colombian
Right.
emerald. The side stones would be diamond, and it's a nice combination. They look good together. The precious stones with the diamonds.
And how do you set yourself apart as a business? So if some, I mean, it's like if you're in New York or somewhere, it's like diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. It feels like everybody is in that business. So how do you set yourself apart?
Well, First, by talking about all these things very transparently, like how
Mhm.
you are interviewing me here. I
Mhm.
talk about these things in my meetings with customers. And I tell them all of this. And then I'm very honest about it. I'm not trying to upsell anything. I'm trying to just give them the real picture. So
Right.
education is very big in my process. And I
Got it.
want to understand my customer very well. It's
Right.
very, to me, that's the power of personalization. It's not the materials are better. It's not it's the same materials as anywhere. It's the power of personalization is understanding your customer and educating your customer. I want my customers to make an informed decision whether they buy from me or from
Right.
somebody else. And many times I even invite them, okay, go shop around. I invite you to do that. But I
Right.
want you to know, you have to have the basics when you go to ask your questions. And I want my customers to ask all the questions they have. Even sometimes they're like, I may ask a stupid question. No question is stupid.
Right. Right. Right.
I can respond to any question to the best of my ability and my knowledge, obviously. Even though I've been doing this for a long time. I don't claim to know everything, but I think
Right.
I know a great deal. So that's what sets me apart. And plus, not to sound in any way, but they like my personality. They
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
working with somebody. They like my story that I'm from Romania. I came
Yeah.
here, I'm living the American dream. I'm also a breast cancer survivor, which for them is, it's
That's
something that,
amazing.
yeah, exactly. And they resonate with my story. And I get stories like, my aunt had breast cancer, or my mother, or,
Right.
oh my God, you're so amazing. I don't want to be amazing. I just want to be an inspiration to women that no
Right.
matter how hard life is, and no
Right.
matter where you come from, you can still make it.
Yes. Well, okay, when you mentioned questions that people should ask, what are the questions that people should ask before they make a decision? Let's say they go to you and they describe what they want, and then they say, "Well, I want to talk to somebody else, kind of get a second opinion." What should they be asking the other person? Like, is there kind of a standard list of points they should cover?
No, usually they kind of have an idea when they walk into your studio. Or sometimes, many times, I actually do everything remotely, and only when they need to see the stone in person, they come to
Right.
see.
Right.
They kind of have an idea because there's a lot on the internet, and they start saying, "Can you just tell me what is the difference between the lab grown diamond and the natural
Mhm.
diamond?" This is a very long conversation. It's always the longest conversation. And then
Got it.
they're asking me about the metals, right? They're asking me, well, how is there's this perception that platinum is more expensive? And then I
Right.
feel that now actually platinum is not more expensive because gold is at
Because gold is,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And actually, platinum is a premium metal. I love platinum. It's one of my favorite. It's actually my favorite metal,
Right.
but it's denser, so there's more material going into the product. And this is why at the time years ago it was more expensive, but right now it isn't. For instance, so
Got
they
it.
so they ask questions like that. So I'm also want to understand. Like for instance, I ask them questions too.
Mhm.
I rarely have a person who may have an allergy to 14K gold because it's lesser purity
Mhm.
of real gold in the alloy. So I
Mhm.
ask questions like that to see if there could be a potential issue, and then I may offer platinum because it's very hypoallergenic and durable. I also ask them questions about their jobs because if they work a lot with their hands, I'm not going to choose 18K. So this
Right.
information, so all of them, when they have this information already, they know what to say to the next person. Well, I want to see if I could get like a platinum setting because of whatever. And then
Right.
they'll listen the other side of the story. At the end of the day, it's all based on trust.
Right.
I want my customers to trust me that what I will deliver at the end of the process is what they are dreaming, their dream ring, without even them knowing that was their dream ring.
Right. No, I was just gonna say, do most people coming to you for an engagement ring or other kind of ring? What would you say?
They come for engagement rings primarily because
Mhm.
it's this industry, I'm in the business of love, right? So
Right.
I make that primarily, but I do get obviously wedding bands.
Mhm.
And then there's a very fun process when they have their ring from somebody else and they come to me to get a wedding band. Then we discuss, well, should it match? Should it not match? What would
Right.
look nicer? What look better? I always say to people that are doing, their engagement ring to make also the band with me because sometimes it has to do with the design. So if you go to somebody, they can give you a band that might not really match or might not really
Right.
look good. So there's this conversation, but I also get obviously gifts, personalized
Right.
gifts. Like I said, with birthstones, like
Right.
band. I do like some. I'm doing some stacking bands, beautiful stacking bands,
Hmm.
or earrings, a lot of studs, and not only
And
that, like whatever customer wants really.
and what would you say is your style? Like, what's your favorite style of jewelry?
Well, I believe that I'm a very classic jewelry designer, that I
Hmm.
focus more on classic pieces, but I
Hmm.
also can make crazy pieces that, are more challenging.
Hmm.
Um why do I believe in classic? I believe in classic because 30 years from now you might not like the snake ring that you made,
Right.
30 years prior.
Right.
So I believe that I'm a classic designer like that.
Hmm.
But I also believe that if you do want to, go a little, wild, that I'm, the your right person, because I can take your idea and, give you like how, for instance, this I was stepping into this podcast and I was very
Hmm.
worried. Since you kind of like being forthcoming to me, I'm the same way, in my business.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to help customers, have their own ideas and be, helping them express those ideas.
Right. And so you actually are the one that puts the whole design and everything together. So they come to you and say, "Hey, listen, here's an image of what I like, or here's some magazine tearouts or
Yeah.
Pinterest or whatever it is." And then you're actually figuring what their budget is, and then you're actually like putting it
Sometimes we
together with the.
change that, idea.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure some,
yeah.
but you're actually then soldering it or whatever the word is
I put
of
everything
how you put
together.
everything
I source the diamonds. I personally, like I give them some options. They come, they sit with me sometimes because sometimes they really trust me and I just send them videos, really.
and.
And then we have what is called realistic renderings,
Mhm.
which actually
Oh,
looks
okay.
like almost 100% like what their ring is gonna look like. So it's very
Right.
easy for them to kind of envision. So
Right.
even before we start the process, those renderings are given to them, and they are like, "Oh my god, they look so beautiful! Can't wait
Ah,
to
so
see them."
that's really helping.
Absolutely, technology is completely different these days. Like when I first started, this didn't exist.
You're
There were some
drawing it. Yeah.
designs, but they were like really, very, very, very like old school.
Right. And so, okay, so you give them the renderings, and then how for how long has that kind of been part of the practice? Like people to get computerized renderings.
It's been for a while, but they're, evolving. Like
Right.
right now, we give like videos that literally looks like the real thing. Like I want to say 100%, 'cause nothing looks like the real thing. You
Sure.
can,
Right.
but
Right.
it's like 95%, like 90 to 95%, and it allows customers to envision their piece on their hand easier. There's
Yeah.
also some even more, developed renderings that will actually put it on a hand, but
Right.
it all depends because it's not your customer hand, and it's also not.
Right.
It's still computers, so
Right.
obviously I'm helping customers and I'm giving them extra details, so I'm helping them envision the
Right.
piece on their finger or on their ears. Or
And who usually comes to, like, if it's for an engagement ring or for a get, I mean, is it like just the guy, just the girl, the couple? If
well,
it's
I
not
love
for an
this question.
engagement ring, who comes?
I love this question because it's very cultural driven. You would be surprised. Some cultures, they both come, and that's the easiest sell, to be honest, because
Really?
because when the girl is there, the girl already knows what she wants.
Right, right,
When
right.
there's a surprise involved and somebody comes with something extremely complex, this is when I'm like, I gotta stop you right here. I think she's not gonna like it.
Oh,
Maybe,
interesting.
yeah. But sometimes they already have pictures that maybe the ghost friend gave them, or hints like that. They drop
Mhm,
hints to each other. But the easiest, I encourage, if it's not a surprise, for both
mhm.
of them to be part of the process.
Got it,
I
got
feel
it.
like the girl should be part of the process, but there is an element of surprise in certain, couples that cannot be avoided. So those are a little more challenging, but somehow we've been figuring that out.
Even figuring it out. And
Yes.
so what do you think that jewelry says? Like what is the deeper meaning that like based on the jewelry you wear? Like what can you infer from people when you know what to look for?
Well, first of all, I feel like it's something that when you go to a store, they put something in front of you and you have the pressure that you need to choose. When you come to me, you can also use in like, kind of how should I say? It's like certain symbols, like, different, like even adding like I said, birthstone in the inner of the
Mhm.
band, or maybe, well, engraving, everybody can do engraving, but there's different other things that you can actually incorporate in jewelry that means something to you. Maybe your mother's favorite pearl,
Right.
or my favorite is repurposing. Right, repurposing.
Oh, okay. So
Say
tell us what that is and what
yes. So
how you
that's
do
more
that.
exactly. So for instance, your grandma left you something and
Mhm.
you don't know, or you think, oh, this style doesn't really represent me. What am I gonna do? But I really like the meaning. I really love that my grandma left me this.
Mhm.
Somebody like me will take that, stone or whatever material that I have, whatever piece that I have,
Mhm.
and I can come up with some ideas. So because I know that this is deeply sentimental and
Yeah.
valuable to them. So I wanna salvage the piece, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
Then I help them build something that they will wear, and they will wear it like, not only, that they will love it, but they will wear it because it's that deeper meaning,
Right.
behind it. So I've been doing that quite a lot with customers. Like usually it doesn't necessarily happen with the engagement rings, although sometimes it does if
Mhm.
they're, some jewelry is passed down generations, and it's
Mhm.
again natural stones. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Got it.
So but then the ghost is, he looks kind of, old. I don't want that. So I either, if it's a if it's like a classic piece, I can just refurbish it, but we
Mhm.
can completely redesign, and I love that. I love the fact that they keep the stone, they keep some, maybe even like part of the jewelry you can keep, and just build around it.
Right.
So that's where the deeper meaning comes from, like look, things that have to do with your life, with something that happens, like how I have this mini collection Survivor. Some ladies want to do, like the little ribbon, but they want to do it with their birthstones or the person who passed away,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
usually it's hard. It's hard to work with because I see sometimes, a lot of emotion, but
Yeah.
because I was there myself,
Right.
easier for them to open up to me and
Yeah.
talk to me about, why they want to do that piece in this material. And then we worked together, and so far I've been enjoying this.
Good. Well, so if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, listen, I have this ring and I don't like the style of it." And like, do you actually I mean, I get that you can take the stone out, but do you actually like melt down the metal or whatever it is and can you repurpose that into the
Not really. It all depends. You could, but if it's, for instance, if it's like a two-tone ring that has other materials, then
Right.
you can't really melt it because it just doesn't work. It also
Right.
costs more to redo it than
Yeah.
but what you can do, you can use the value of the actual gold.
Right.
So, but there are cases where when we could do this if they really want to keep
So
the
what you would do then is you would take this, let's say, take the stone out, and then you would broker the deal or however it would be, where you take the gold
yes.
and sell
It's
off the gold to
smelter,
somebody
yes.
else
There
who's
are
gonna.
there are companies that are buying, and then I just show them the receipt. That's how much the gold costs. You
Right.
can use that towards your purchase.
Got it. Got it. Well,
But
what do you think is going to happen in the future with jewelry?
well, I I've been predicting for a long time that people would shift their, even younger people will shift their attention more towards natural stones
Mm-hmm.
because see, lab grown diamond is still kind of new, right? People
Right.
are not hitting that wall where they realize that they're not gonna give their daughter a lab grown stone, right?
Right. Right.
But some people don't care about that. They will be like,
Yeah.
okay, she can buy her own, or her future fiance can buy. But I feel like as time goes by and as prices go down for lab grown diamonds,
Mm-hmm.
people will shift their attention towards natural. And as
Right.
per personalization, people like something that nobody has.
Absolutely. So
Even if
do you think that's the biggest attraction for in for custom
yes,
work?
And also the convenience. Like it's very stressful to go into a mall and just
Hmm.
buy off the shelf. It's stressful. And then I
Right.
get that from a lot of customers. They said I went to, well, K Jewelers. I don't know. I'm not gonna give names. And it
Hmm.
says I just feel like I had to buy something. We don't feel that with you. We're chilling. We're talking.
Right.
So I think this more one-on-one experience is something that people will start looking more and more. I mean, I've been seeing this trend, increasing over the years.
Hmm. Hmm. I
Especially with
got
the
it.
technology and everything, you can do anything right now.
Right.
It's easier.
Absolutely. So it sounds to me like diamonds really are forever and probably the original ones. And then there'll be a group that, yeah, so probably is going to stay kind of in two worlds. The people that are really believe in the history and the uniqueness of that. And then the group that says, hey, listen, it doesn't matter to me. I might as well get a lab grown diamond.
I believe the occasion will be very important. If it's you're getting engaged, you might want to go for a natural. That's what I believe
Right.
is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But for like, tennis bracelets, little, fashion,
Got it.
birthdays, lab girls will definitely stay. But I
Right.
feel like their main purpose will change a little.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, what else should we let our guests know about the process of meeting with somebody and potentially designing their own jewelry? And then also how else can they how can everybody find you?
Oh, first of all, they need to just not think that because I'm a bespoke jewelry means custom, custom process.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean I'm more expensive.
Got it.
It's a misconception I get all the time. Doesn't
Got it.
necessarily mean. It means that I'm just gonna work with you more. That's what it means. And then
Right.
I think I'm going to work with you more. I'm going to give you more of my time, more of my energy than something in a store. And then how could they find me? Well, I'm located on 1460 Broadway by
Got it.
appointment
In
at
New York,
Danny
Broadway in New York, right?
Broadway in New York. Yes, 41st and Broadway. And
What's your Instagram?
DiCuore Diamonds, DICUORE Diamonds with S. Where I post also me small educational videos all the time where I, take questions from my customers. And of course, I post some of the pieces. I cannot post everything, unfortunately,
Right.
because it's such a personal, experience. My customers don't want everybody to have their jewelry out there.
Right, absolutely. Well, Danielle, this has been great and a great education. And I know a lot of our listeners are going to find it helpful to kind of get the backstory on the difference in diamonds and where the industry is headed. So thank you so much for being on with us. And thank you to our listeners for listening to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show. Please rate it 5 stars if you are so inclined. And make sure to tell a friend. So that's it. If you want to find me, I'm at the Party Goddess on Instagram. And we will see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.